Hi there! Do you own an e-reader? If you answered yes to that question, then you might just own more than you think you do. This is a video about the potential uses of these devices and aims to shine a light on some of the hidden talents you may not have known they have. This is the Inktelligence list of the top 20 uses for e-readers. Now, before we get started, let's just take a step back. I am not recommending any of the following uses for an e-reader. That's not what this video is about. This is an exploration of possible functions and roles that these devices might be able to fill. So, dear viewers, it is entirely up to you whether or not any of these possible use cases are suitable and safe for yourselves or anyone else. With that understood, let's jump into the list. Number 1. E-reader. Yes, I know, you're shocked to learn that e-readers serve as e-readers. But it's worth briefly mentioning the primary use case for those unfamiliar with these devices. When I first heard of Amazon's first Kindle device, I remember thinking, who on earth would want to buy a battery-powered book? But as time went on and the devices grew more and more polished, I was forced to reevaluate these devices and their potential. For those who don't know, Amazon isn't the only one around making e-paper display e-readers. While probably used by most people for reading books, e-readers are also good at other tasks. Most e-readers can also read PDF documents, which is pretty much the dominant digital document file type you'll encounter out there. This makes e-readers potentially attractive to students and business professionals too, as e-readers with e-paper displays, most are made by the company e-ink, allow people to read what are essentially digital documents on a physical medium. In fact, the term digital paper is a very apt name for e-readers, as they are displaying all their information rendered in actual physical ink particles. The only difference from real ink and paper is that e-paper displays come with the ink already within the page itself. You just need to tell that ink what to display. Number 2. Note-taking device. This use wasn't immediately apparent when the first e-readers launched, but in recent years more and more e-readers are tackling the challenge of allowing people to take handwritten notes on them. As the recent Kobo Ellipsa proves, even the big players in the e-reader industry are taking note of, well, taking notes. Right now the field is still evolving, but some e-readers like the Remarkable 2, Supernote devices, and Onyx Books e-readers are starting to deliver a really good note-taking feel with faster responsiveness than ever before. Many of these devices allow you to export or email your notes off the device, or even convert your handwritten notes into text. Although I think this last one is still a work in progress as far as I'm concerned. There is an anther bed of B advanced Ushabosh. Sure, Kobo. Sure. Note-taking on e-readers, going forward, seems to be one way to satisfyingly bridge the gap between the utilitarian benefits of the digital age and the more cozy, mechanical, and human method of writing by hand. Number 3. Tracing onto device. If you have a note-taking e-reader and stylus, you also essentially have the ability to trace drawings and images directly to an e-reader. Besides just using this as a way to practice your drawing skills and better understand the importance of individual lines to making up an image, there are other potential benefits to this ability. Digitizers for inputting drawings into some digital form can be expensive, but certain note-taking e-readers can allow you to trace an image and digitize it as a side benefit. As you can see from even this quick example on the Remarkable 2, The device's stylus seemed to have no problem detecting the lines I made, even though I was tracing it to the screen through both a plastic document protector and the actual layer of paper the image of this cartoon character was printed on. Okay, it wasn't exactly a mirror image produced, but that's because I did this very quickly to just illustrate that it can be done. With a bit more time, you would very likely get much better results. Some e-readers might limit the export function of these tracings to just something like PDF files, but others, like the Remarkable 2, allow some choice for export options, at least through the Remarkable 2's companion app, such as the ability to export your traced images as scalable vector graphics or SVG files, editable in some image editing software, which can then allow you to further tweak and edit your traced image. At this point, some of you might be wondering, what about using a frontlit e-reader as a light table? Well, the answer is yes, you can technically use some e-readers with frontlights as a light table for tracing images off the device and onto paper, but I don't really think this is the best option. As you can see here, it isn't totally ideal. E-readers aren't backlit, so the light isn't shining straight out through the paper. It's more like a kind of fuzzy glow illuminated by the front light that most e-readers use. Therefore, the image detail that comes through isn't great. For one thing, it only gets near to light table clarity at all when all the lights are off and you use a really thin sheet of paper. There's also the danger that using a traditional tracing tool might damage the e-reader's screen, especially if you're pressing down hard with a pencil or mechanical pencil. So my opinion on using e-readers as a light table for tracing is basically I don't think it's the greatest idea. Number 4. Image editing/experimentation. E-readers that allow note-taking or drawing can also be a great tool for trying out modifications to existing designs. The use cases for this ability are legion, but here's one I think could be useful. Have an existing drawing you want to embellish or alter just to see how it could look? A note-taking e-reader like the Remarkable 2 might be the perfect fit. Here, I've already embellished my rendition of a cartoon character, but let's say I wanted to see how it would look if they had more windswept hair, for example. As you can see, this change is easily accomplished without forcing me to commit to that change in a way that might be required in a traditional medium like pen and ink. And yet, all of this is still being accomplished by rearranging physical ink particles, which still imparts a look that might be closer to a traditional drawing than you may get with a typical LCD or OLED electronic tablet. Number 5. Digital printer. Some e-readers, notably Sony's second-generation digital paper devices, allow you to wirelessly print from a computer directly onto the e-reader itself. Apart from being incredibly useful as both a time-saving method and allowing one to potentially use less paper in their daily work, this ability has also added the benefit of allowing one to easily create PDF documents at the same time they print to the device. The Sony DPT RP1 or second generation digital paper is getting harder and harder to find nowadays, but today this wireless printing option lives on in the line's spiritual successor, the Fujitsu Quaderno line of e-readers. Number 6. Placard. Yes, you can make a placard out of ordinary paper, but an e-reader will likely give you the option of using the same placard as many different times for as many different names or purposes as you want. Especially in the case of a large screen e-reader, these devices can act as a placard or sign. The added benefit of them being digital devices means that if you see a mistake in a name or word, you may be able to correct it on the fly. And this is especially true of the Sony DPT RP1 with its wireless Bluetooth printing abilities. And for those of you who think this is a stretch, I can actually attest to this use case firsthand. Long story short, I was tasked, on very short notice, with finding someone in a crowded place. So I grabbed my laptop and the Sony digital paper, tossed them in the car, used the wireless Bluetooth printing function to make up a sign, and I had an instant large placard to carry around which helped me find that person. So yeah, this could work. Number 7. Drawing Canvas / Sketchpad. One of the really cool advancements to e-readers in recent years is that, along with digital note-taking abilities, improvements in pressure sensitivity and e-ink resolution have meant that drawing and sketching is now possible on some e-readers in a meaningful way. The current leader in this area is arguably the remarkable 2 e-reader with its varied selection of brush types, layer options, pressure sensitivity, tilting, and shading effects. However, other e-reader brands, like the recent Onyx Books devices and the Supernote line, aren't far behind. So why might you want to draw on an e-reader, you ask? Well, aside from having a nearly infinite canvas, these devices add digital functionality like copying and pasting, and the ability to export your drawings in a digital form. This experience isn't perfect, of course, and most current options tend to wear away at the nib and produce fine plastic filings on the device's screen surface. So you may want to lightly wipe down the surface of your e-reader with a dry cloth every once in a while if you do try this ability out. Number 8. Daily Planner. The simultaneous paper-like and not paper-like benefits of e-paper technology have also allowed people to start using their e-readers as daily planners or schedule organizers. For some people, they may see a lot of natural fits here. The ability to write and erase notes about your schedule at will, the more human act of writing than tapping out notes on a phone screen, and even the ability to use the zoom functions on some e-readers to make detailed edits to your plans. Again, this may not be perfect for everyone, as you'll probably need to carry that e-reader around with you to take advantage of this use case. However, for some, this may be what they're looking for. Number 9. Journal. If you wanted to keep a handwritten journal, but wanted some digital side benefits, then you may be able to use an e-reader to suit that use case. Now, before you go writing down your life secrets in an e-reader, it's good to remember that many, if not all, e-readers require a connection to the internet to accomplish at least some functions, and anytime something is connected to the internet, privacy questions may arise. To be clear, I'm not saying that any e-reader company is actively aiming to steal any of your personal data on purpose, but just keep in mind that it may be possible, especially on e-readers featuring handwriting-to-text software, for something you write on an e-reader to end up being shared with either a company or an individual in some form somewhere along the line. But bearing that in mind, you might be able to get a slight boost in on-device security from certain e-readers that do allow the user to set passcodes to unlock their screen. Number 10. List making. Okay, this one is pretty simple. The fact that you can use some e-paper e-readers to write and erase things with ease makes them one possible candidate for making lists. Number 11. Blackboard. Again, this potential use might seem pretty obvious to many of us. Are you by any chance learning a language via writing out phrases? an e-reader might just be up to the task. Number 12. Presentation tool. Now, this potential use of an e-reader might come as a surprise to a lot of people. However, in recent years, some e-readers have begun to include some form of screen sharing so that whatever is being written or annotated on that e-reader's screen shows up on a paired or connected computer via that e-reader's companion app or software. Screen sharing mode could allow one to connect a computer to a projector or other means of sharing the contents displayed on their e-reader, sometimes in pretty close to real time. For example, many may not be aware that the second generation Sony digital paper features just such a screen sharing mode. As you can see here, there really wasn't that much lag between when I was writing and when these annotations showed up on the screen, especially when opting for a wired connection rather than over Wi-Fi or Bluetooth, which are also both options in this case. The potential benefits here seem pretty clear, and this screen sharing mode might have uses for educational presentations, meetings, or conferences. The Sony digital paper is getting pretty hard to find these days, but this same screen share ability lives on in other devices today, such as Fujitsu's second generation Quaderno e-ink devices. The Remarkable 2 also often hypes its own screen sharing presentation mode as one of the benefits for signing up for its Connect subscription. And when it does work, it does look very impressive and fast. But regrettably, I have yet to get this to work with my Remarkable 2 unit. Over it, nothing is happening at all. So I can't really speak to how reliable this is. And speaking of other uses for e-readers, here's one that came in handy in the preparation of this very video. If you have an e-reader, chances are you too have the makings of a poor man's teleprompter. Okay, fine. Given the prices of e-readers at the moment, not really a poor man's teleprompter, but it's not a real teleprompter. You get what I'm trying to say here. Yes, it's true. Whether you have a speech you want with you without fumbling through a lot of paper on a stand, or like me, you're narrating a video and you just want to stay on script, an e-reader can become your very own teleprompter. I have found that a smaller e-reader like the Kobo Forma works really well in this use case, and you get the added benefits of battery life that you might not get from reading on an actual electronic tablet or a phone. Also, the fact that most e-readers these days support a tap or swipe gesture to change pages means that you're less likely to mess up an audio recording because you can silently swipe through page after page instead of actually flipping pages back and forth. Voice actors of the world, rejoice. Number 14. Proofreading/editing device. Whether you're writing a story, an essay, or a thesis, you're going to need to proofread it and edit it. If so, a note-taking e-reader may just be an option to look at. I have frequently used larger screen e-readers to proofread, edit, and correct my own work. In my experience, it has massively aided me in printing less paper over the years and allows me near infinite capacity to write side notes and helpful tips about plot points and needed character development. Of course, this may not be a suitable use for everyone, and the potential information privacy concerns I highlighted earlier should always be considered before deciding if you're comfortable using an e-reader in this or any fashion. Number 15. Please sign on the dotted line. The note-taking aspect of some e-readers could allow one to sign documents with their own handwritten signature. Now, this might seem a bit reaching to some, but I once actually helped someone I know sign for their accommodations remotely this way when we didn't have access to a printer and paper, but I did have my trusty Sony digital paper e-reader, a laptop, and a so-so internet connection. Using these, I help them secure their preferred dwelling in time, and to this day, they are still enjoying their lovely flat. So this use case is possible in some circumstances. But again, you have to make sure for yourself that it suits your own unique security and other needs. For example, I would urge people to think twice about signing for anything too important on another person's e-reader because, as you can see here on the example document I signed on the Sony digital paper, in this particular case, I am quite easily able to copy and precisely duplicate the signature as many times as I would like. So before you ever use an e-reader for this function, it would be entirely up to you to decide for yourself if it was actually a good idea or potentially unsafe. Number 16. Information filter and dictionary. Many e-readers feature at least some kind of search and/or dictionary function, and not only on ebooks but in PDF documents as well. Especially for students, there may well be a place for e-readers to aid in the research process. In my university days, I keenly remember the slog of having to give numerous journal articles a cursory read-through just to see if they did or did not actually have much information I was looking for on a particular topic of interest. From my experience, I think I would have definitely appreciated the ability of some modern e-readers to search through PDF documents to see how many times or where a particular keyword of interest was mentioned, which in certain cases could have acted like an information filter tool and potentially saved me some time. It also probably wouldn't have hurt to have the ability of many modern e-readers to define words. Number 17. ThoughtWeb/DoodlePad. The nearly infinite blank canvas afforded by so many of today's e-readers could make them very useful for creating thought webs, to think a problem through, or even just act as a convenient doodlepad to scribble away at. Speaking for myself, I would probably be more likely to doodle on an e-reader or write down the inspirational thoughts that randomly strike me because I'd feel better about not wasting so much paper. Number 18. Space Saver. Ever wanted to pack more books than you could comfortably take on a trip somewhere? Well, if so, then an e-reader might be one solution. I love the physical sensation of turning a book's pages, and this is something I think e-readers will never be able to entirely replace. However, the fact that e-readers can potentially allow for the storage of hundreds of documents and books in a pretty thin package does give them a great space advantage for certain travelers. Number 19. Emergency light source. The fact that many modern e-readers also feature built-in front light illumination means that, in a power outage, an e-reader might just be your most convenient flashlight. Or, okay, maybe your second most convenient flashlight. While e-reader front lights don't generally cast direct, focused light straight out from the screen, they can do a decent job of providing some illumination in a dark room, at least on certain e-readers. In my opinion, this use case is only strengthened by the fact that most e-readers have the potential to outlast their tablet brethren in terms of battery life, and the fact that some e-readers have color temperature adjustment, which could allow you to choose softer lighting options as well. Number 20. Audiobook Control Pad. Now, I'm only aware of some e-readers with built-in Bluetooth control ability, but I feel like this will probably be adopted on more e-readers going forward. One great example is the Kobo Ellipsa, and how it allows users to control the playback of their Kobo purchased audiobooks straight from the device. When I was first trying out this device, I found myself very impressed at how seamlessly these controls allowed me to precisely control not only the volume the audiobook was playing at, but also the audiobook chapter I was listening to and an assortment of other functions. I think this option is a natural fit with many e-readers and could potentially be very useful for a lot of people. I hope you enjoyed this list of my top 20 e-reader uses, and if you did, please remember to like this video and subscribe for more Inktelligent videos like this.